if you have clicked on this video, you most likely will be heading to London soon, which is super exciting. Now, London can be a bit overwhelming, so I'm here to give you the top tips that you need to know before you arrive in London to help make your experience a little bit better so you know exactly what to prepare for. And hi, if you're new here, my name is Nina. I'm an American living in London. I have been here for over 2 years now. I make videos on what life is like in London as well as travel content. So if that is something that you're interested in, then I would love to see you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on my future videos. Okay, let's go ahead and get started with number 1. There are 6 different airports in London, and the reason that is important for you to know is, 1, when you're booking your flight, you shouldn't really limit yourself to just Heathrow Airport or a particular airport. Go ahead and just put in London, all airports. This will bring up a wide variety of results for flight times, flight options, flight prices, and so forth. So I recommend just being open to any of the airports because honestly, all of the airports are going to be a bit of a pain to get into central London, with maybe an exception of Heathrow. So Heathrow is going to be your biggest hub in terms of like international flights that are not from Europe. So if you're flying from the US, Canada, Australia, or something like that, then you most likely will be flying into and out of Heathrow. Now, Gatwick, Stansted, and Luton will be more for budget airlines like EasyJet, Ryanair, if you're flying from within Europe. The city airport is going to be mainly for business trips. Like, it's a very, very small airport with very limited flight options. I have flown out of there once, and people are just dressed in like business clothes because it's really served to be more of a business airport. So you literally fly in for your work meeting and you fly out of there on the same day type of vibe. So as a tourist, you most likely would not be using the city airport. Now, because it is going to be a bit of a journey for you to get into central London from any of these airports, it is very important for you to really make sure that your flight times ideally are not anywhere between like midnight to like 5 a.m. because that's going to make your transportation options very limited. You most likely will end up having to maybe take an Uber, which is quite expensive because of the distance. Which brings me to the second point. Public transportation is the main form of transportation over here. You do not need to rent a car because a lot of times, honestly, Ubering or taking the taxi is way too inconvenient and it would take you much longer to get to your destination and most likely will cost a lot more than if you were just to use public transportation. Please don't be afraid to use public transportation like the tube, which is the metro system over here, or the bus. To get around in a car in London, it's just not the most convenient option. So I rarely ever Uber. Now, there are going to be some cases where Ubering might make more sense than taking public transportation. Like, let's say you're flying into the airport and you're in a group of 4 people. That train ride or the tube ride to get 4 people into central London, it might be cheaper for you to just split one Uber. So just kind of do the math there to see what makes sense. So the tube is the underground metro. There's also what we call the overground, which is similar to the tube, but it's above ground and it doesn't run as frequently as the tube. And then we also have the DLR, which is another train system, but you most likely would not be using the DLR as much as you would be using the tube. Next is that London is divided into 9 different zones. So when you see a map at every single tube station, you'll see that they're highlighted in different zones, with zone 9 being the farthest away from central London and zone 1 being the most central part of London. So think of zone 1 as all the tourist attractions like Big Ben and London Eye, Buckingham Palace, and so forth. And you most likely will only be staying between zone 1 and zone 2. What you need to know when it comes to using public transportation here is that there's a daily cap on the tube system. How you go about using the tube is using contactless card payments or with your phone through like Apple Pay or Google Pay. So if you look at your credit card or debit card, look for this wireless symbol. What that symbol means is that it's a wireless like contactless tap. So you can just walk up to any of the tube stations and just tap your card instead of inserting it. Same thing with your phone. When you open up Apple Wallet or Google Wallet and you install your credit card or debit card on there, you can use this as a form of payment. When you use the tube, you have to make sure of 2 things. First is you're using the same payment method when you enter and when you exit the tube. So if you tap in with one particular credit card, you gotta tap out with that same exact one so that the system knows, okay, you entered at this station and you left at this station. If you use 2 different cards, the system's not gonna know where your journey started and where your journey ended. And therefore, the second thing that you need to know and you need to do is you always have to tap in and also tap out when you exit the station. If you forget to do that, then again, the system does not know where you have entered and where you have exited. Therefore, they're going to charge you the maximum rate, which they're just going to assume that you travel all the way to zone 9. So you're going to end up getting charged a lot of money. So with this daily cap, if you are using at least 3 journeys, then that will be the kind of the break even point. Let's say the first journey starts at 8 a.m. The next one you go on the tube at 10 a.m. and then the next one is at 1 p.m. The next one is at maybe 5 p.m. That 5 p.m. one is already going to be like capped. You will get your money's worth if you take the tube, overground, and DLR within the 24-hour period. You will not have service when you're using a tube because you will be underground. So really make sure that you kind of know where you're going before you get into the tube station. What I recommend is maybe take a screenshot and really make sure that your screenshot includes all the stops that you're going to be going to, where you're going to be transferring to, where you're going to get out of. But if you do get lost in the tube station and you don't really know where you're going, that's all right. Just ask people. Like, everybody is so helpful over here. So yeah, don't be afraid to ask if you're a little bit lost or you're just kind of unsure where you're going. The bus has its own system, even though it is still obviously considered public transportation. With the daily cap that I talked about, only includes the tube, the DLR, and the overground. It does not include the bus. The bus is its own different system. It will be £1.75 per ride. When it comes to the bus, you do have to tap in right when you enter at the front of the bus, but you do not need to tap out. So you can just easily walk out because they don't need to know where your journey ended because it's priced per ride. And say that your route will require multiple buses. The first time you tap into the bus, it is valid for 60 minutes. Let's say that the route that you're taking requires you to take 2 different buses. First bus ride is going to be a 10-minute ride, and then the second bus is going to be a 30-minute ride. You still have to tap into both buses, but you will only get charged £1.75 for those 2 buses in total. You've heard me talk a lot about this whole tapping thing, which brings me to another point, is that London is basically cashless. Let's say that you're using an iPhone, go into your Apple Wallet and install your credit card or debit card or whatever one you want to use on there. You can just look up some YouTube videos on like how to add your credit card into your Apple Wallet, because you definitely will need to have that installed. Like when you go to a restaurant and you want to pay for your bill, you don't put your card down and they take your card and go pay. No, they're gonna come to you with the little machine and you just go ahead and pay right there. It's not like in the US where they take your card in the back and then they come back and have you sign stuff. No, everything is going to be done right then and there. Which brings me to another point, is that London's currency is in pounds. So really double check what the conversion rate is so that you kind of have that in the back of your mind. And quick tip for you, if you have an iPhone and the latest version, you can actually go into your calculator app, just go into this button right here, and then you can have the convert and toggle that on, and you can go ahead and choose, type in GBP as the first option, and then whatever other currency that you're coming from, like let's say USD. So you can easily just say, okay, if something is £5, what is it in USD? Which is $6.48. Next thing is, London is very expensive. So keep that in mind because your bills will add up very, very quickly, especially with the different currencies. If you're from the US, if you see something that's £20 in your head, you might think, oh, that's like $22. No, it's like 26. So that can add up very quickly. This next one is not really London related, but is just a good tip to know in general when you're traveling abroad, is that make sure that the card, a credit card or debit card that you're going to be using does not have foreign transaction fees. When they do have foreign transaction fees, what that means is every time you make a transaction, you will get charged a fee for every transaction. And in London, let me tell you now, because everything is like all contactless, you will probably make at least 10 different transactions every single day at the minimum. So make sure that the credit card or the debit card that you're going to be using is travel friendly. You do not want to go home and get your statement and have all these fees rack up on top of how much you're already going to be spending in London. Next, pickpocketing is a real issue, especially phone snatching. Within my first year of living in London, I've already had my phone stolen twice. That was not fun, and that was straight out of my pocket. So really make sure that you do not have your phone in like your back pocket or in your purse and your purse is wide open, or in like the pocket of your jacket, because that was how I got my phone stolen. I grabbed it right from the pocket of my jacket. Do not be leaving your phone on your table at the restaurant, or just casually holding your phone like this, because trust me, your phone will literally get snatched right out of your hands. I have seen it happen. I've heard too many horror stories already, so please just be really careful with your phone. Protect your phone like it's your baby. The last thing you want to happen in your London trip is to be without a phone and you have to go ahead and buy a brand new phone on your trip. And if you have your purse, make sure it's always zipped up, put it in the front, especially if you're going to be in a crowded touristy areas, which you most likely are. So yeah, just be careful with your phone, please. Next thing to be prepared for is that people walk really fast over here. And as a tourist, you probably will want to stop and like smell the flowers and admire all these beautiful things, or just looking down your phone for direction, which is perfectly fine. But please be mindful that people in London, they do walk really fast. So if you need to take a pause, don't just be walking and just like stop in the middle of the streets, because you will probably piss off a lot of people. So just step over to the side and look at your phone or do whatever you need to do. And also like just watch where you're going. London is a very bustling city with, you know, cars, buses, bikes, motorcycles, and be really cautious when you're crossing the streets. Obviously, look both ways. It's better to be safe than sorry. Next is when you're going up the escalator, make sure you stand on the right side of the escalator. The left side is safe for people who are in a rush and they want to walk, so always stick to the right hand side. Speaking of walking, please just wear comfy shoes. Leave your heels, leave any shoes that are not comfortable back at home, because you're not going to want to wear that thing. You will be walking so much that your feet are going to hurt. So you definitely want to wear comfy shoes. Wear those sneakers. It's okay. Everybody wears sneakers over here. If you want to wear heels or like some cute shoes, just maybe save that for like a dinner or something. Don't plan to wear that all day long because your feet will probably hate you. Next is there is so much to do in London. You most likely will not be able to squeeze everything in, and that's okay. And I really don't recommend you overpacking things on your agenda, because it's going to be really overwhelming and you're going to be honestly very exhausting from all the walking, all the sightseeing. And I've been living here for over 2 years now, and I feel like I've explored a lot, but yet there are still so many things that I haven't done, I haven't seen. So, you know, if you only have a few days here, it's okay if you don't get to do everything, because it's almost impossible to do everything within just a short amount of time. London is a very spread out city. If you're trying to go from one end of London, like central London, to another end of central London, or like zone 2, the journey itself will already take almost an hour to go from one end to the other end. There are a lot of free activities to do over here. The majority of the museums are free. Don't feel like you need to pay for all these attractions. I've been here for 2 years now. I've never even been up to the London Eye, and I've had so many visitors here and they haven't even been up to London Eye, because I feel like there are so many other great things to do in London that are free. So I would just save your money and not even really have to pay for the attraction, unless you maybe like you want to go see a show or something. If you have free time, go ahead and take some day trips out from London. Like there are so many great places you can see that would just require a quick day trip from London. Places like Bath, Brighton, Cambridge, Oxford. There are so many things to see outside of London. So if you do have that one extra day, I highly recommend one of these places. You definitely will not regret it. These typically would just be roughly about an hour to an hour and a half train ride, and then you will be at your destination. I would definitely try to stay within zone 2 when it comes to your accommodation, because I understand that, you know, the farther you are away from London, the cheaper it's going to be. But as a tourist, you do have limited amount of time, so you don't want to be wasting a ton of time on commuting into central London every single day. You don't really have to stay within zone 1. Like you don't have to find a hotel or an Airbnb that's close to like Big Ben or London Eye. Like again, because London is so spread out and there will be so many attractions all across London itself, you do not need to stay close to those attractions. Just make sure that you stay within like zone 2. Next is the pub culture is massive, and they're actually kids friendly as well, so you can bring your kids into the pub. And how the pubs work over here is you just go ahead and walk right up to the bar, go ahead and order your drink, and then you find your seat after. If there is a seating that's opened, if you go ahead and sit at the table, they're not going to come take your order. It's not a restaurant. And try to make restaurant reservations. London is not those cities where you can just be spontaneous and turn up to a restaurant without a reservation, because you most likely will either have a 3-hour wait or you're not going to get seated. I personally recommend that you stay away from restaurants that are like 4.9 or 5-star ratings, because honestly, I have learned that in the hard way. I would go to a place with really great ratings, like 5-star reviews, and it's just not as great. So I feel like those ratings are kind of fake. I have found that like the sweet spot is anything that is like 4.4 to like 4.7. If something looks too good to be true, it might be too good to be true, because there might be fake reviews. So yeah, keep that in mind. Next is try to give yourself buffer time, especially if you're trying to make it to like a show or something that is time sensitive. Then give yourself like 10 to 15 minutes, because again, you're relying on public transportation. Sometimes the tube might be delayed, the bus might be stuck in traffic, so you don't want to be like in a rush all the time. So I would definitely give that 10 to 15 minute buffer. Plugs and voltage over here are different. This is the UK plug, so if you're coming from other countries, you will need to get a plug adapter. So I've had this for years now, and I highly recommend you just invest in one. So okay, the UK plug system is going to be those 3 prongs like this. So if you're coming from the US, your plugs will be looking like this. Obviously, this will not go into the wall. So you need a plug adapter where you can go ahead and just put in this. Or if you're traveling from Europe, then you will have this like this, right? So you go ahead and just plug this right in, looking like this, okay? So that is the plug adapter. Not only is the plug system different, the voltage is also different. So the UK voltage is 230V, which means that if your electronics do not operate in 230V, it's not going to work. You will basically ruin your device. And how you would go ahead and check that is just look at the electronic device that you're going to bring. Now, if it's like a camera, like Apple products, like your phone charger, your laptop charger, those will probably work fine. They do design it to be like a universal voltage, so that should be fine. But if you're bringing like hair tools or like a shaver or something like that, I would definitely double check the voltage on there to see if it's compatible with 230V, because otherwise, yeah, your device is not going to work and you probably will end up ruining it and will probably cause a spark. So definitely double check on that. All right, so I think that's everything that will at least give you a really solid foundation before you arrive in London, so you know exactly what to expect. I would love to hear from you. Did any of these things surprise you? And if you've already been to London, is there anything that you would like to add? Put that in the comments below so you can help out your fellow London visitors. Now, the last thing that I want to leave you with is that London can seem like an intimidating city, you know, or like the tube system might be intimidating to you, especially if you have never used public transportation before. But just remember this, that there are millions of people who have visited London, have taken the tube. So if those people can do it, so can you, okay? Just always remember that. That's honestly my personal life motto, is that if other people can do it, so can I. Thank you so much for watching. If you have found this video to be helpful, I would appreciate if you can give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe if you do enjoy travel contents or learning more about what life is like in London. I hope that you will have the best time on your trip, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!